the sine theta is equal to 2.5. Can you see that? Right. So you are still going to, but now you must remember your cast diagram, you go the opposite direction. So I'm just particularly interested in one of the things they say there. They say the sine function is positive in the first and the second quadrant as you go. Looking at that ratio, you are supposed to still work out the acute basic angle. I said acute basic angle, the angle that is less than 90 degrees. Then from your graph, they are putting a minus there. So the same way you would work, because you expect a negative answer. You're blessed. Is it a sneeze or is that just a missed call? For a sneeze. Right, so let us look at a few questions. So I'm going to do two. Find theta if theta is and cos theta is what? 0.642. Right, so first of all, in which quadrant is cosine positive? So if you have your cast diagram here, cosine is positive in these two quadrants, so this is not going to be considered. Right, so this is nothing but 2 pi minus theta, and this one will be theta. You follow? Good. And then also, you know the other way around, right? Because we're dealing with negative angles. Let me just re-emphasize something that I also had to explain to N now, and I hope you guys also get it. When we're doing questions like this, cos square y, let's suppose equals to 1 over 8. Because in order for you to isolate the y, the cos y, you needed to take the positive and negative root of 1 over 8. This negative, this is basically the same concept as cos y equals to 1 over 8 in terms of its root form, or cos y equals to negative 1 over 8 in terms of its root form. Which basically, if you simplify that, that gives you over 4. Okay? You don't have to take it further, insert form. I'm just putting it out there because that was a question came. The minus that you see here has got nothing to do with the angle. It is not, you're not working with a negative angle. Here we are going to work with a negative angle because our interval is starting from negative pi radians. So the only angles that are negative pi radians are negative angles because these are reflections on the y-axis for our normal function. So what this negative is telling you is in which quadrant is the cosine ratio negative. So the reason why you probably end up with 4 answers is because your domain has been maybe from 0 to 360 degrees. So there will be 2 possibilities where cosine is positive, and there will be 2 possibilities where cosine is negative because of that domain that you are in. So the minus gives you the direction on our cast diagram. But here we are dealing with negative angles because our domain is from minus 2 pi radians up to 0 pi radians. Does that make sense to you? Right, because we have that, we are going to find the acute basic angle. So we first have to find the acute basic angle. Since your domain is given in terms of radians, please change your calculator to radian mode. Okay? So the acute basic angle is going to be the cos inverse of 0.642. Right? What is that angle? Your calculator better be in the radian mode, please make sure. Give me 2 4 decimal places, even 5 decimal places, okay? 369 up to there for me is fine. So this is the angle by which I'm going to subtract 2 pi minus that angle, and this is also then a solution, but it becomes a solution. Let's say I take the 4th, it becomes a solution with a minus in front of it because we're dealing with a negative angle. Do you understand? So I'm just going to, for the sake of the way we do the other ones, normally we put a minus here. So in the first quadrant, it's going to be 2 pi But now, just check what I'm doing. I put the minus outside. Because whatever I do here, my answer should be negative. Because I'm looking for a negative angle. You understand that? That's negative angles there. So minus 0.87369. So don't dispute, you just find me that value. What is that value? Here is negative 0.87. 4 to 3 significant figures. Here it will be negative. What is this stuff? So negative 5.401. Nine. Are you saying 0.9? Oh, okay. So those are my two solutions. We need to fix that situation there. Anyway, let's look at another one. Where radians are involved. Question 4. They say the domain here, and this is a very particular question, like the same. So there's minus pi radians to pi radians. Right, if you were to draw this, minus pi would be here, and pi would be there. So you're going to have, most probably, positive angles as solutions, and negative angles as solutions. Does that make sense to you? Whatever the positive angle is in one side, you just then say also for the negative. So it's going to be plus and minus. You follow? Right. Then, so that's the domain. And we are given as the first one is cos theta equals to 0.75. So you know that cosine is positive in the first and in that quadrant. So if I take for the positive angle, okay, so let me first find my key angle. So my key or my reference angle or my acute basic angle would be, theta will be cos inverse of 0.75, and give me the answer in radians, please, up to 5 decimal places or something like that, because we want to avoid premature rounding. Does that make sense? Okay, so what is this answer? 0.722. Okay, that's more than enough, sufficient degree of accuracy I can work with. Alright, so it's, if we talk about the positive angles, but now look at my domain. So if I look at the positive angles, then I'm not going to consider this one here, because my domain is only in the positive sense, only from like 0 to 180. So that's the first concept. So when we're looking at a positive angle, my answer would be only what theta would be. Does that make sense to you? Alright, so whatever that theta would be. So for example, this particular answer would be in the first quadrant. When the angle is positive, it's going to be 0.722. Maybe I can put 2, 3 significant figures, radians. But if I look at, yeah, but I first want to do it right. If I look at my negative one, right? So remember we start, this is going to be theta. This is going to be, this is going to be, and this is going to be. But we know that our value is going to be in the first and in the fourth quadrant. So we consider then this quadrant. You follow? So all of these others, first of all, those ones are not domain, so we don't consider. So it's still going to be theta, but just with a negative. So one of our answers will therefore be in the fourth quadrant, it will be negative 0.723. So that is why it is written normally as our theta equals to positive or negative 0.723. So once you have the positive theta, then the answer becomes the same for the negative theta. Does that make sense to you? So you don't really have to do this. You just have to work with what you know and then attach a negative to that particular answer as well. And make sure that you understand what's within the domain. Okay? So obviously, it will still work here, but the value here is not going to be positive or negative, right? This minus that will not give you within our domain, because we are looking only for when theta is what? Positive. And it's only positive in the first quadrant as well as the fourth quadrant. In the first quadrant, that condition. In the fourth quadrant, it's positive for this condition, so minus that. So if you press on your calculator, just give me 1 minute. If you press on your calculator, cos of negative 0 point there, you're going to get a ratio. A ratio that is positive, 0.75. Does it make sense to you? You get it? Remember the cosine graph. Starts at 1. Are you confused, right? Right. Now, when we are talking about this line here, 0.75, that's what I mean. So, one solution is going to be here. There's going to be another solution there as well. These are the solutions I'm talking about. So whatever that angle is, this angle here, 0.723 radians, is going to be the same negative 0.723 radians. You still get the same positive ratio. You get it? So that negative angle gives you the same ratio as well as that positive angle gives you the same. So far, so good. Now there's a B part of that question. Who wants to come and try? If I do these things, it's fine. You have to come and do it. Come, let's start reflector. So I'm going to leave this, and then just remember that's part A. So I'm going to take this off. I don't believe that chair is good wheels. Do you believe that chair is good? The way B here, come to it here. Then theta equals to 2. Then theta equals to 2. Let's see how it progresses. Check. All around. Get up with that. It's not like a woman is supposed to get up. No, I see. It was Brenda. What of these is so this is the management. Then here, is he getting there or is he doing rubbish? Oh, wait, you're not. So this is your key reference angle. So in which quadrant is, wasn't it negative originally? Okay, so in which quadrant is tangent positive? And But that one is going to be outside the domain. So we're not going to consider that. So the answer will just be whatever that is, we'll go positive and a negative. It's not that complicated. Why are you still taking it? Because it's going to be outside the domain. You first do that. You need to work first where is tangent positive. And it's positive in the first and the third quadrant. But in the third quadrant, we're not going to consider because it's out of our domain. Our domain only goes to pi radians. You understand? The third quadrant is between pi radians and 2 and 3 over 2 pi. You understand that? Okay. So what is happening here? What I always say, it's best if you can, you see, look here. Look here. This is a what? No. This is a what? No. You see 180. What symbol is this?
Pi.
Well, okay, that's the symbol for pi which you get in the calculator, which is equal to 3.1, blah, blah, blah. What symbol is this? So why are you subtracting? It's not there. So what is our answer? No, what is our answer? So our answer is just that.
No, check. It's supposed to be this 2 for this. This is negative. It's not 2. But this is 2 pi minus theta, which is not in
So what is the answer? So this one only has one solution. Wait for the answer to prove first.
It's a point.
Say.
First quadrant and then the third quadrant.
Yeah, but in the third,
Let's see.
it's the third quadrant out of our domain.
For the negative side,
It's 4p.
So,
it's this one. This is. You understand? Negative one.
So continue what you wanted to do there. We're going to quickly look at your solution now.
Why am I coming
Which is totally 100% wrong. Really must be. It's difference of 2 squares. 3 multiplied by 2. This is 1. This can be 2 squares. Go back to the difference.
So, but yes, so it's a simple x squared minus
1. There was 2 squares.
oh, check out the
We'll make a video for you for what. Okay, so why is that answer considered as well?
See?
According to the negative angles, okay, the tangent is going to be positive there. So that one is now taking the opposite direction now. It's theta, and the other one will be pi minus theta. Okay. This one here, is it fine? You agree with this one? This one because the solution was just theta. No problem. Okay? That's why for this one, check. Our domain for the first one is between 0 to 180. Our domain for the second concept is between here to negative 180. So you have to consider the domain. That's why I drew 2 of these initially. You understand what I'm saying? Alright? So that I can consider if there is a possibility that this is also a solution, I would have worked it out. The same, like this is going to be a solution. For the positive stuff, solution will only be the first one. For the negative angles, the solution will be the third one. So you need to work it out. In the third one, it's pi minus theta. So, what did it do? What is going on here? Pi, this is pi minus that? Okay. It's correct. Minus 2.03 radians to 3 significant figures. Stop the tape. Stop the tape. He said he nailed it. I don't think so. Why are you smiling? It's just irony everywhere. He's an advert for Coca-Cola or Colgate. Which company is it?